Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Balkan. In this one I have for you a 4 vs 4 on Dukla Pass, and I'm going to be playing with the 43rd Wessex Infantry with the balanced deployment type. This is the latest allied division to be added with the latest Nemesis DLC, and it is a reasonably strong division, not quite as strong as its counterpart in the Kampfgruppe Walther though. Let's have a quick look at what we're getting down. So we've got a couple of the Dutch leaders leading the charge. Behind them we have the assault troop, the Gemot Marinier. We have the 6-pounder. There's going to be some more assault troops alongside multiple assault engineers as well as the BS Gids. And then we have another assault engineer back there and another one further back. 2 rifles with Piat to provide me with some Piat support. Actually, we've got another one there as well. Bofors, multiple Honey Stewarts, and that's your lot. So these 6-pounders, they're going to be taking up positions on this ridge, so I was sending one through this tree line here so that it could cover the road opposite. We've got another one that's going to be setting up in the light cover here, which is another fantastic spot for covering the little valley that we're going to be fighting over here. Now I was hoping that I'd be able to get a little bit further down here, but the way that the deployments are set up, it seems as though the blue side, in this case, is able to get to this left sector, and I was able to get to the right sector way before they were. But my assault troop and Gids have unloaded, and they are going to be coming under a lot of fire from these MG42s and the Volksdeutsche. So the Honey Stewarts are charging forwards to try and provide some fire support. I'm also bringing the rifles of Piat over to try and engage the Volksdeutsche at range. I don't really want to allow this 6-pounder to get killed off by the MG42, but currently I'm microing the engagement with the Honeys. You can see that I'm having to fast move them down the road here in order to get them close enough to engage the Pumas, because the Honey Stewarts, they do have limited range of 1,250 meters, whilst the Pumas, they can fire at 1,500 meters. So I have to get close in order to get the damage done, which is why I'm charging these down. Also, the machine guns getting on target of the MG42s is helpful for trying to help my infantry survive. But there goes the Puma, and now I'm going to be targeting the Panzer IV, and we managed to take that out as well because we are close enough to get that penetration. Also, the Panzer IVJ has a little bit less front armor than the Panzer IVH, but that worked out quite nicely. Now these Honey Stewarts, they're 20 points apiece, killing off the 50-point Puma and the Panzer IVJ were both nice kills, but maybe went a little bit too far with those, just a tad, and they all ended up going down. But a fun initial engagement as the Honey Stewart squadron tried to do its best in that situation. But a nice hold by Ihawk here. So rifles with Piat taking a bomb to the face, but I'm going to be bringing in my own aircraft, the Spitfire LF Mark 9E. This is equipped with 2 HE rockets, which are pretty powerful, and I was hoping to finish off the Puma and take out the MG42. The MG42 managed to survive. The Puma had moved, so I didn't actually end up hitting that. But with the initial engagement out of the way, things aren't looking too bad for the positioning of my troops. I've got the assault engineers quite far up. Fantastic assault engineers because they've got the Lifebuoy flamethrower and the Piat. And then the rifles here, they're still pretty decent at close range because they can use their Bren, whilst the Volksdeutsche won't be able to use their MG34. So pretty good for us so far. My rifles will win that infantry engagement, and I'm going to be able to spread these out shortly once I'm finished microing all of these into position, because the main thing that I'm trying to do here is cut off this road. But it turned out that Ihawk's reinforcing road really was this one further to the left, so there wasn't really much coming down this wiggly road that I would have otherwise been able to cut off with the assault engineer. So this one's going to go on a little journey to try and get into a position where I can attack this crossroad. But meanwhile, I still need to deal with the rest of the units that will be heading my way. So new Panzer IVJ on the way, the Volksdeutsche out in the open, and the Volksdeutsche, they're going to get killed off by the rifles, or pinned down by the rifles. My assault engineers do manage to find and attack the SDKZ 10-4, so that was a pretty nice kill because it's going to open up the use of my Spitfires for a second run. But at the moment, it's all about this infantry. You see these infantry now pushing up, going to attempt to take this flag further to the right. But things across the board pretty even, as it's 12 to 12. And what a map this is. I haven't really had much of a chance to look at the map in general, but I'm a big fan of this map. It is very, very cool. It has these valleys with sort of higher ground that is covered in these trees. And the one thing I really like is how the elevation on the sides affects the gameplay in the middle of the valley. And the other thing is the way that armor interacts with infantry. Like having your Panthers, for example in this case with Grim, he's got his Panther G nice and close to support his other infantry. It's really nice. And meanwhile, over here, I have bumped into some of Taki's forces. So Taki here going to be the one that's responsible for defending this right flag. They're coming in again with another Spitfire rocket strike, looking to kill the Puma. Managed to take it out. Well, they actually have 4 rockets, not 2 rockets, my bad. And that one actually ends up taking out the Panzer IV-J. So, yeah, really nice rocket strikes, keeping the pressure on our opponent. Valdez has brought over a Stug 3 here, so that's going to be something I'm going to have to deal with. And the assault engineers trying to take care of the Panzer Grenadiers. At close range, they should do a pretty decent job with that flamethrower handy. But I am taking mortar fire, which is why, for example, this leader's already pinned down. You can see the mortar fire coming in. They're also going to help pin down the second assault engineer. But the 17-pounder in the meantime will be taking shots at the Stug. Just chilling out behind the wreck of the 6-pounder. Hoping to finish that off. Unfortunately, quite a few shots were missing. The 3-star Stug with its rate of fire actually having a pretty nice fight with the 17-pounder there, but we do manage to finish it off. Got some of the Dutch infantry in, supported by the rifles of Piet. Panzergrens though, not going to hold up. Ihawk smells blood after the mortar fire has come down, and it is going to force me to continue to back up with this infantry. And I'm going to, of course, have to reinforce it as well. I'm making slow progress over on the right-hand side here, hoping to kill off the AT gun here, as well as the rest of the Jaegers that are defending that flag. But Ihawk's not going to be slowing up as more Panzergrens keep breathing down my neck. So, Gid's on the way. We got some more of the Marines. The Gids are going to be helpful in this situation because they have the Molotov for close range engagements, and that's going to allow us to have another tool to fight these Panzergrens close up. Big problem we are having, however, is the veterancy difference. So whilst I do have a leader that was providing extra veterancy to my infantry, here's a 3-star, mine are only like 1-star, and that does make a big difference when it comes to these closer range engagements, because these infantry are actually managing to get quite a lot of value out of the G43. But my infantry's arriving shortly, and these Dutch Marines are pretty good with their 4 Stens. Again, the Bren can be used at close range alongside the Enfield, so all of their equipment is pretty good and well set up. It's just a shame that I lost the leader, because otherwise all these Marines would be 2-vet in order to fight those Panzergrens. There goes the rockets onto the Panzergrens, just trying to hit as many as I can and whittle them down so that when I go in for my infantry engagement, I'm in a good position once again. But solid mortar fire coming in from my opponent here is keeping me on my toes for sure. So assault engineers going to be finishing off the Jaeger there. That's going to give us the flag. Now we need to fight our way to the left-hand side here. I do have a Firefly rolling up, and that's going to be able to apply some pressure from the same position that the 17-pounder was in. The 17-pounder I've moved over to the green cover, so it's not as easily spotted, but after it did fire, it has come under now mortar fire, which is not ideal. Our last style on my left has a really nice position on this 6-pounder to cut off that reinforcing road I was talking about. So there's a good opportunity for me to potentially get into this tree line. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do next, but Taki here reinforcing on the right hand side is going to push me off that flank again, and we're currently sitting at the 11 to 13. So just preparing all of my units as the leader comes up here to make sure I have that extra veterancy. My Dutch troops are going to unload into the face of the Volksdeutsche. Unfortunately, the Volksdeutsche, they do still deal quite a lot of suppression with those machine guns at range, and we're also taking a lot of damage from these 3 vet Panzergrens up on the ridge. But at least we managed to kill off the MG42 there. I killed off the Volksdeutsche, one of the squads. That second squad there is still causing me problems, but here goes the close range engagement against the Panzer Grenadiers. So my Marines and the Gids up against the Panzergrens in close combat. Gonna be trying to force them out of this position. Meanwhile, Bofors did end up going down. But we are starting to break through here quite nicely. Ihawk's going to start to fall back his infantry, but I've got to be super careful of the enemy mortars. There's not really too much I can do about the mortars at the moment, because it will require significant counter battery, and then it would also require him not to be moving, and these are most likely mechanized mortars, like in half tracks. So he's got really good radio mortars, managing to pin me down very effectively. It's just really nice micro from him. I have brought in my own sexton so that I can do something similar, and that way we can kind of even the playing field at least, even if I'm not going to be able to stop his mortars completely. A Pack 38 there, going to get the free kill onto the M5 half track. That's a brand new Pack 38 that's managed to get into position there. Like in between the time it took for my last infantry to come in, so that really caught me out, and both those half tracks going down is a bit unfortunate, because it would have been useful to have those to help pin down infantry. But the rocket's still coming in and doing a good job. These Spitfires actually reload pretty fast, so I was able to get multiple strikes in with them throughout the game, and it was really, really fun to do so. They're also very, very beautiful planes, so it's nice to look at them. Anyway, infantry is managing to make some ground. My Marines have got on top of his leader here, which won't be able to fight back too effectively. We've got 3 vet versus 3 vet here. Panzergrens versus my Marines, but my Marines have the better close range equipment, so they will win that engagement, because I have now brought up my Sherman commander, which also has now a Sherman leader here, as well as of course the leader on the hill providing the leadership to the infantry. So pushing 2 vet on my infantry is really, really useful. It's something that Ihawk's been doing already, and I decided to match it, otherwise we would continue to have that disparity throughout the game. I'm really looking to get my Dutch infantry into these buildings, into the barn buildings, but here come the P-47s. P-47s are a big part of this division, and they have amazing payloads. So you can see there the bombs absolutely smashing the enemy to bits, and we're going to be able to make some serious ground afterwards. Bockwolf coming over the top is going to get hit by my Crusader AA that I've brought in. So we're able to shoot that down very nicely. The Marines here still doing a great job at close range. Unfortunately, the Gids, they ran out of Molotovs, so they did end up getting beaten. And now we have another problem. The Panzer Sturm Pioneers of the 1st SS. These guys have MP44s and a flamethrower. In this case, the flamethrower is not in range, so we're somewhat equaling that engagement, but it's going to be very difficult for me once they do get in range. Once he starts microing those more correctly, it's going to be really, really rough for my infantry, because even the assault engineers can't really match up to the Panzer Sturm Pioneers. This is one problem that I will be having throughout this game, is sort of this infantry disparity. Not necessarily quality, but like quantity and veterancy. So because you get quite a lot of these Panzer Grenadiers, for example, in the 1st SS, you can upvet them quite a lot without losing too many in your deck. And that's what he's really exploiting at the moment in order to get a lot of work done against my infantry. What I'm trying to do is utilize my aircraft in order to try and pin his infantry and then advance on them in order to negate that disparity a little bit. But those Sturm Panzer Pioneers are pretty damn good, and it's going to be a problem regardless. The Panzer Sturm Pioneers, sorry, I need to call them the right thing. Anyway, the Dutch infantry with the 3 vet will make short work of Volksdeutsche. And you can see there, even the last Marine managed to hold the ground. But here goes my infantry up the hill to attempt to help the assault engineers. I realized on this right hand side I had been completely cleaned out by Taki, so I'm gonna have to head back over there and deal with that once again. But I'm in an okay position. I've taken the flag that I'm supposed to have, and then I've managed to take an offensive flag, which is this one on the left. So now I'm going to be looking to take a second offensive flag once again in the form of this one right here. So the Marines are arriving. Another unit of Dutch infantry on the way. The rifles of Piats will join them because of their lack of Piats. And then I've got the Sexton that's trying to work on pinning down the enemy units in that tree line. So Ihawk's gonna push up with the Panzergrens. These infantry are just so good. Like, this is a 6-man recon squad with double MG42. Really, really solid. Gonna be able to push back the Fusilier Marines. Nice Typhoons though from last style. Gonna take out the half-track. Almost takes out the infantry, but not quite. And at the moment, just trying to consolidate my position. I have brought in an artillery commander for my Sexton, and the second Sexton is on the way to join it. So I will have some more significant artillery support that I can use, and we're also of course going to have those at 2 veterancy because they'll be connected to the commander. And yeah, the plan was to just try and pin down any infantry that was putting a threat onto my infantry and allowing us to win those engagements. And the interesting thing about infantry engagements in Steel Division 2 is because it's quite dependent on suppression, it has an almost snowball effect, which is why just using a little bit of artillery, even if it's just 1 mortar to support your pushes, is so effective. The reason that happens is because as the suppression goes up, your unit becomes less effective. It loses accuracy and rate of fire. And so what ends up happening is your unit, or the unit that's not pinned down, is maintaining its rate of fire whilst the other unit's losing damage. And basically, like I said, it snowballs really, really quickly with that suppression. Right, trying to make the little bit of a push now. I've got the Piat here just in case there's anything in the light cover that I've got to deal with. We've got some recon on the way. We've got the Sherman 3 that's also going to be heading up the road to provide some close range armoured support. But meanwhile, going to look for airstrikes elsewhere. So coming in on the right-hand side now with my P-47s. This one has two 454 kilogram bombs. And I think it has a 256 kilogram bomb, but unfortunately a little bit too much AA here is going to prevent those bombing strikes from going through. The P-47 rockets didn't manage to kill the Stör, but the Spitfire LFs at least managed to deal quite a lot of damage to the Sturmjägers over here as they get finished off by the Katyusha of King of Rumelia. So Jaeger Pioneers going to be the next challenge. Just got to make sure I kill them off before they fire, or before they throw their next HE. My Sherman there, trying to get it into the light cover, and then we're going to move up the rifles with Pia, and we'll use that to engage the Stug instead. You'll also notice that I have sent a couple units over to the left hand side to just support here. So we're getting spread a little bit thin, and Ihawk's going to start to make his push again. So the next wave of infantry on its way. Panzer Pioneers going to be able to defeat my Marines quite handily. The 3-vet Panzer Sturm Pioneers certainly going to deal with unvet Gids pretty quick. Motorized rifles trying to do their best against the 3-vet Panzergrens. But yeah, my leader went down, so not really much chance for my infantry here as they get completely overrun on the ridge. Now we have moved in to phase C, so now comes around the interesting late game of the 43rd Wessex, which is a lot of Polish infantry. So I'm going to be bringing in the Desantsztymowe. These guys are 2-vet flamer squads of the Polish, and those will help me secure this close range engagement quite nicely. If Ihawk hasn't got a decent amount of close range infantry in phase C, which I was somewhat counting on, then I'd be able to continue to harass him in the trees with great effectiveness. Unfortunately, my Sherman's here going to get spotted, and so it's coming under artillery fire. But Crusader AA standing its ground is going to completely chew up a Panzer Pioneer. So that was really, really nice for me. My Dutch troops continuing to try and make ground. I'm also going to be able to get a free Panzer Sturm Pioneer kill there, which is nice. But the Volksdeutsche and the Panzergrens, they're in a bit of a pickle. Or my Dutch units are in a bit of a pickle as those two units approach. You can see my air force is starting to come back online again. It's getting to the point in the game where if I want to continue utilizing my air force, I'm going to have to bring them in all at once, because there's going to be at least some AA on the map, and therefore, you know, you've got to kind of bring in the Spitfires here, for example, to kind of distract the enemy AA, and then I'm allowed to get the bombs off, and I'm going to do a decent amount of damage to Grimguy here on the left hand side. The other thing that's nice about that situation is if I use my air force to attack multiple places on the map, it forces multiple players to buy AA and therefore have less points invested in their front line. So that works out well in our favor. So I'm moving up the Crusader AA here, keeping it at a distance so that we don't get engaged by the Panzerfaust. But that's going to help the Dutch infantry stay alive in that building for the time being. Now, unfortunately for me, my Polish flamers are going to get caught out in the open here, approaching this tree line. I was hoping that he hadn't come all the way across here, but he had. So it's going to be difficult for my infantry to push in to the heavy cover, mainly because his Panzer Pioneers have 2 MG42s, so they're still very effective at range, even though they are close range specialists. Same with the Sturm Pioneers. The Panzer Sturm Pioneers also have 2 MG42s, so it doesn't really matter that they are close range infantry, they still pack a punch at range. And even when the Spados come in, the Spadochronidia, these guys, they have an MG42 at a Lee Enfield, but they're still going to struggle because of the difference in cover. So it's really going to come down to another airstrike and bringing in 2 more P-47s with these bombs. So yeah, the 2 454 kilogram bombs and a 227 kilogram bomb, really nasty payload. Just hoping to wipe these out completely so that this infantry can get into the heavy cover there and push across, utilizing their close range infantry capability. But now 2 more here that I'm going to have to deal with as well. So that requires another P-47. There's quite a large investment into the aircraft in this game, but it is a big part of how Wessex works. The 43rd Wessex is very heavily reliant on the P-47s. Unfortunately, they're changing the target at the last second, caused my P-47 to not drop its bombs, so that was a mistake on my part. Firefly here, 3 veteran C, looking to get the kill onto the Panther G. Unfortunately, that is a bounce. I think from this distance it was like 70% penetration, but we managed to bounce twice. Bit unlucky on my part, as my Firefly goes down to the Panther with inferior veterancy, which was quite frustrating. The Firefly probably should have won that engagement. Anyway, managed to get these Spados into heavy cover themselves, so they are going to be able to start putting the pressure back onto this infantry again, and that's going to allow me to cover the flamers as they try and move into the heavy cover. But one problem we are going to have is the half-tracks, because we don't really have much light armor left. Because I used all of my Honey Stuarts at the start, I didn't have as much stuff to deal with half-tracks, and those are going to start to be a quite big problem for all of this infantry that is lacking AT, because whilst the Sturmove are very good at close range with their flamethrowers, and the Spados are good at long range with the MG42 and the Lee Enfield, there's no Piats to be seen. So you then have to make sure that you're supporting yourself with Shermans or Honey Stuarts, and in this case, when I was playing this deck, I didn't actually have a phase C card of Shermans. So at the beginning of the game, you might have seen there was a phase C card of Shermans because I added them retroactively. But during this game, I didn't have them, and this game is the reason that I did add them, because you need to make sure that you have that sort of close range AT support for this infantry. Otherwise, it's just going to get like rinsed in the open, even if it does have decent firepower. But the Crusader AA coming in the clutch again, looking to engage this infantry for me. Panther G, however, does manage to get the shot on target this time around. Now, since these managed to get pretty low on like suppression or morale, I'm hoping that my Dutch infantry can surrender them in time, but it wasn't quite able to get the job done. So I'm then going to be required to bring in some P-47s to finish the job. So a couple of P-47s going to be trying to bomb that infantry. We've got the P-47 with rockets, the HVAR anti-tank rockets going for the Panther G. Going to be able to bomb out that infantry nice and easy. And there goes the rockets onto the Panther G. So a very successful airstrike. And the thing that's really important in this situation is you need to make sure that you are getting value out of these aircraft, because otherwise you're investing, you know, thousands of points in this case into aircraft, and if you're not getting thousands of points of kills throughout the game, you know, it kind of leaves you in a bit of a weird spot, because you'll have like nothing on the ground and everything in the air, and yeah, you just can't hold the ground. Anyway, here comes the half tracks. So iHawk getting all of these half tracks out. He has invested into the Panzer Grenadiers now, so I'm hoping my AT guns can clean these up. So this was when I realised, oh, I need Shermans. So I'm bringing in a Sherman leader, but it's going to take a while to get to the front line. Meanwhile, still going to have to deal with Panzer Sturm Pioneers at close range. And whilst the Desantstamovi are still good because of their Sten Mark 5, which has the 60% accuracy, they are still going to take chunks from those infantry. So Spadochronier going to have to fall back as those half-tracks continue to apply pressure, and I'm basically hoping that he comes in close enough that both the flamethrower and the AT grenades can be used to kill them off. So this is something that I don't think I've mentioned in a while with Steel Division 2, but every infantry squad has grenades that they can throw at open top vehicles. And the main reason this was introduced was to counter half-track spam like this. So you can see that working really, really well for us. But unfortunately up on the ridge, not working so well as the infantry gets hit very hard by the 210mm Nebelwerfers. So that's another tool that the 1st SS has up its sleeve, and I was surprised that I hadn't been hit by them more at this point. But it had primarily been an infantry engagement that my opponent had supplemented with mortars rather than Nebels. So Panther G taken out on the left hand side, my 17-pounder up on this ridge, helping out Tommy. And I've also brought up some Desantstamovi, some motorized rifles, the kids here, who are sort of doing the push and pull on the far left. So I'm still spread out all across the map. I'm even going to be bringing in my aircraft once again for another nice bombing strike over there. Kind of been pushed back to square one though on my section of the map. I'm only controlling this flag. At least I hadn't lost a flag. I was still trying to get the Polish units into position to get the job done. Anyway, a big push here from Grim Guy. Gonna get hit very hard by the bombers. So that was nice indeed. Here comes a 3rd bomber. Absolutely smashing those to pieces. And that's going to allow Tommy's 43rd to continue the push on that side. Now, unfortunately for me, last style here ended up dropping from the game, and that meant my left flank is going to be a little bit exposed. There's going to be a lot less cover on this reinforcing road than there was before. Although at this point I think iHawk had started using the wiggly road to reinforce because units were getting caught on this road. 17-pounder still looking for kills onto the Panther. We did manage to clean up the rest of the half-track, so that's good. You can see that I am trying to make as much ground as possible as quickly as possible. But again, a reason why I need tanks at closer range. Because these Polish infantry, at this point, do not have any close-range AT. And supplementing that with either Shermans or other units that have Fiats is super important. I'm bringing in the Spitfire LFs from the right-hand side here to try and get the rockets onto the Stug, because this was mainly controlled by my teammates, so that was really good. And I know that my opponent iHawk had now invested into a ton of AA, which is why one of my P-47s got shot down so quickly in one of the previous strikes. But Panther G here did manage to get the shot onto my German, and I wasn't able to hit it with the 17-pounder at the same time, so I'm forced to resort to artillery to push that off the ridge. More close-range infantry on the way though. I'm just hoping that I can grind him down enough that he basically runs out of infantry, and my abundance of higher veterancy close-range infantry in the late game is going to carry me through to victory. But we're a ways off victory at the moment, as our opponents have been sitting on the 13-11 for a while, and you can see the tickets falling away from us as the game continues. But a really, really fun game so far. Double Desantstamovi going to take out the Jaeger Pioneer before it even throws a HE grenade, so that was great. Bofors getting hit by the rockets. This Focke-Wulf 190 Recon spotting those quite easily, and then allowing him to target them down. That's going to open up the skies for the Focke-Wulf bombing strikes. We're coming in on the right hand side now with another airstrike constant airstrikes throughout this game. P-47s getting good kills there onto 2 Stugs to help King of Remelia try and make some extra ground with the 9th. The 9th has been buffed quite significantly lately, which is why he's probably playing it. You see these Kazaki squads, it's like a 12-man squad for 20 points with 11 PBSH and a DP. And you have like Kazaki Mosin, which is another 12-man squad. It's just like really, really solid infantry in the 9th now. It's nice to see them buffing the base game divisions. Descent Stalemate coming under fire from 2 3-vet Panzer Pioneers. So I'm going to have to back off from that engagement. One thing that I probably did need is just like more infantry leaders as well. Because once all my infantry leaders had died, Ihawk was continuing to use them for his advantage, and that was forcing me to lose these engagements. 6-pounder of last start, managing to stop those half-tracks at least, so that was nice. AI keeping that in a good position. The Spados on the way. Germans trying to help out at the distance. Unfortunately, all these Panzergrens just a little bit too much. And whilst I do have a lot of aircraft, it's getting to the point where I don't have much chance to use them. So I'm just finding targets here and there that I can take out, like the Erkundungs. My Gid's at least providing nice recon information on the left-hand side. And Tommy has managed to push through quite substantially now with that forest, but needs to get all the way up to the further back point. Still having the problem where my infantry can't put pressure onto the flag because Taki's putting a Stug right on top of it. And unfortunately for me, the Sherman's not really going to be able to do the job, and I'm limited on the number of Fireflies that I have up my sleeve. But Sextons, they're firing away, hoping to get some chipping damage onto the enemy infantry, and also, you know, pin them down so that the Stalemate can get the job done. Like against the normal Panzer Grenadiers, I'm able to win with the Stalemate pretty well, as you just saw. And that was a 2-man squad managing to take out a 5-man squad. And the same's going to happen here. But as soon as he attacks in numbers with that high veterancy, or also supplements it with the Panzersturm Pioneers, it's pretty rough. I'm also trying to supplement this part of the map. So motorized rifles coming in, Sherman 3 coming in, but a Jag Panther, Panther G, big issue for my forces. So P-47 on the way. It's looking for a rocket strike onto the Panther, but without line of sight. Not able to get the job done. 17-pounder, managing to take out a Panther G there at least, so that was good. And I'm hoping to now kill off the Panzer Grenadier in here, so that we can take control of that flag. Motorized rifle still holding the ground on the left. Also bringing up a Firefly here now to support the push into the town, so at least we can take back this flag. In this case, I was just helping here so that we can hold our defensive flag. Because if we can hold all of our defensive flags, and then I can push on to this offensive flag and this offensive flag, we're technically going to be in the lead for the rest of the game. So that would be really nice. But it's getting to the point where it's a bit of a dream for that to happen. Because it's basically a little bit far gone. Like, we'd have to get our tickets past their tickets in order to win. But nice P-47 there, takes out the Panther G. That's good. And this P-47, I just tell it to leave before it gets itself killed. This one at least manages to get a rocket into the side of the Panzer IV. So that's nice. This is the Jagdpanzer with the longer range gun. Really, really strong. 2,000 meter range with really decent penetration for a relatively cheap cost. So Spado's at least engaging the Sturm Pioneer at range there, but you can see that the suppression is limited from those snipers due to the high veterancy. Sturmove do at least manage to win on the right hand side here, and my half track's now going to be helping against the Panzergrenz. So things across the board going kind of good and bad. We're unfortunately not really able to take many flags. Like this push through here from King of Remelia is nice, but it's not really gaining any flags. He needs to get through this town and take this flag on the right hand side. My bombers managed to get through, so P-47 kills off the Stug 3. Unfortunately, it does go down for it. The Spitfire LF's coming in for the 3 rocket strikes onto the infantry squads, and we're able to take out the Jaeger there, for example. Yeah, it's like this flag and this flag that King of Remelia needs to take, or help me take this flag, like he has with the Osnas and the Kazaki PPSH. Like the Osnas in this situation is fantastic because it's one of those units that he can use to help kill off the Stugs for me. And Sturmove can help hold at close range. Motorized rifles missing the Piats. Same with these ones. So both of the close range tools failing their job, and the machine guns just like overrunning my infantry. Motorized rifles there at close range, holding quite a long while on this flag. But now since the Jagdpanther's dead and the Panther on this road, there's a decent chance for me to kind of push back a little bit here. Although this Panzer 470 is going to be a bit of a problem. Just got to try and make sure the Firefly gets a shot on target, although the Cromwell's already managed to find a side shot there. That's the AI bringing up Cromwell 5 to support this flag. But major combined arms effort from my opponent Ihawk here is going to cut down my infantry quite quickly indeed. Look, these are all 3 vet Panzer Grenadiers with the 2 vet Panther G, mainly because of leadership, and I'm down to like 3 units of Spadochronidia. Now he's pushing in with the half tracks, to which I have a very limited amount of armor remaining to help deal with that. Firefly here does at least manage to kill off the Panzer IV. So I got the 2 Fireflies plus the Sherman going to be hopefully holding that flag. My Firefly back here probably could have been moved up a bit to help more against these enemy units on the left hand side. I've also brought up some more Spados on the left there to help out. But here we go for a big strike. P-47 going in for the bombing strike early to try and take out some of these half tracks. Do manage to take out one of them. We're managing to get some bombs on the ridge. Unfortunately, 2 of the other Panthers do manage to back up into cover before the P-47 rockets come through, but taking out the P-47 and shutting down some of this push is very, very good for me. It's able to get some decent value, but you can see the sheer amount of AA that was coming up onto my forces there, shooting down 3 of my aircraft, I think, in that engagement. Really quite rough. Now the Crusader AA, that can be used to kill off these half tracks, so that's what I was kind of somewhat counting on. 6-pounder can kind of cover at short range. We've got the Spados that are going to be engaging the Panzergrenz here. And Fireflies, they're slowly pushing forwards. I was a little bit worried that there might be infantry with AT on the right hand side here. So that's why I wasn't fully committing the Fireflies straight away to capture the flag. Also, the difference between 14 and 13 flags doesn't make a difference. So I wasn't in a particularly big rush, but my Spados on the right, they're pushing forwards. I just put like my elite infantry everywhere. I'm trying to get the rockets down. So we take out another Stug, take out some of the Sturmjägers, hoping that King of Tremelia can kind of take advantage of me whittling down some of these forces on the flank. But I did end up losing a P-47 for that strike. And that basically comes down to the fact that I'm kind of running out of a massive aircraft. Like, you need to have an overwhelming mass in order to break through AA to begin with, but also get away unscathed. Because AA automatically shoots at units that are not pinned down. Like, it prioritizes units that are not like already falling back. So if you have a lot of aircraft, what happens is there's more aircraft for it to shoot at before it starts like focusing. Whereas if you have a small amount of aircraft, it like pins down the aircraft and forces the aircraft to fall back, and then it will just keep shooting at the same aircraft, which is when you get the kills happening because of the AA having its accuracy scaling the more it fires. Anyway, 17 pounders trying their best to kill these Panther Gs, and I'll tell you now, I'm pretty sure it was over 50% penetration chance on these 17 pounders. They just kept bouncing this game. It was really rough. But extremely limited on this front now. I did end up losing a sexton because I was lazy. I wasn't moving them at all when they were firing. But we had managed to get through a decent amount of supply there, as you can see. Spados on the left getting killed off. But here comes the remainder of my infantry, the motorized rifles with the Spados. I'm going to be trying to take the tree line. Now, I was still technically holding this flag and this flag, so that wasn't so bad. We're also very close to continuing to capture this flag, so there's the two flags offensively that I'm able to continue controlling. I've got Spados coming in on the right hand side, hoping that I might be able to capture back this flag, because at this point in the game we're kind of just looking for a draw, which you can make happen. Like, even if you're really behind on tickets, if you get ahead on flags, it's technically a draw. You kind of play for the draw in the late game if there's not really a chance of you winning. It can be a bit annoying when it happens to you, but it's also kind of nice because it gives you something to play for, even in the late game. Okay, motorized rifles going deep, trying to get into a good position there. Unfortunately, Panzerschreck gonna be coming out the woodwork. Nice Panzerjäger there, able to kill off the half track before it unloads, so I lost the motorized rifles. This one's trying to get in nice and close on these Panzer Pioneers because the Panther Gs won't be able to fire over this tree line. And the M5 half track will continue to pin down the Panzer Pioneers. Unfortunately for me, the machine gun fire hitting the motorized rifles actually started to pin down the half track as well, so the half track became less effective. What I should have done in that position is just loaded them back up. The P-47's coming in for the bombing strikes there to try and clean out this tree line. Unfortunately, both of them go down, so I'm down to like 5 aircraft now. And in the deck, there is quite a lot of them. Multiple Panther Gs still alive at the end of this game from iHawk. Look at that ridge. That is wild. Like, there's a couple of Panther wrecks on there, but I wasn't having much luck with the rest of them. And it's just got to the point now where I just kind of ran out of tanks. And unfortunately, that is going to be defeat. But a really fun game, and a great one for being able to discuss the 43rd and all of the units that they have at their disposal. I think I brought in so many different units that game, and we still managed to go positive, 5,710 kills to 5,525 losses. But yeah, getting the Air Force in as well, that did a good job for me. Like, these Spitfires were constantly rocketing stuff, and even if they're not getting kills, when I'm targeting infantry, they're still like chunking those squads quite nicely. Now, the Assault Engineers, they did pretty well. I think what I needed was more leadership to fight his leadership opposite me, like iHawk's leadership. The P-47s, though, yeah, all of the aircraft did pretty well until, obviously, late game when all of the AA came online, and there wasn't really much chance for them to do work anymore. The 17-pounders in this game were letting me down quite a lot. That was a shame, because we were hitting the mark every time, I just wasn't penetrating. That was really rough. Maybe could have kept some of the Honey Stewarts for the late game, but I didn't really anticipate there being so many half-tracks for me to have to deal with. 81 more mortar, really, really tough for me to get rid of. There is a good chance you can kill them if you're lucky. Like, if I get a couple of 25-pounder shots on target, then those mortar half-tracks can go down, but it was extremely likely that iHawk was moving them because he's a decent player. But there you go, that's the kills and losses. A really fun game. Shows off the new map a lot, and shows off the 43rd Wessex. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.